all of a sudden, I kind of lean up and I go, do you hear that? And she's like, no, what? And I go, do you feel that? And she's like, what? And she's like, you messing with me? I go, no, it's like electricity. Do you feel it? And she's like, yeah, I do. And like the hair on her arms were standing up. Like there was like electricity in the air. And and I go, "You don't hear that." And she's like, "No." And I go, "Listen." And the best way I can describe what I heard is if you have any Star Wars fans out there, you know the great big star destroyers that the Empire has, and you see them slowly going through space, and you hear that noise that their engines are making. That's similar to what I heard. And I go, "What is that?" So now
The Bodega is a guide and a storyteller, escorting you through the night, lighting the way, warding off thieves, ghosts, demons, and other oddities. Along the journey, his companions would often share with him the most curious of stories that he'd record in his codex. Perhaps you just might find yourself traveling with the Bodega and sharing one of yours. Hey everyone, welcome back to Codega's Codex of Curiosities. I'm Rye, and you should know that by now, the Codega. And tonight, we're going to be journeying into some woods. We're going to be journeying into some experiences, some UFOs, some Rake or Pale Crawler. I don't know. It could just be semantics, but something that is pretty terrifying for a 17-year-old boy to experience. And then we're also going to go into some stories about some ghosts, some paranormal, and even a Dogman or werewolf story as well. And who's bringing us all this? Well, that is Dano. He is the host of the Cryptid Podcast. I stumbled upon his show one evening when I was just flipping through my YouTube, and like YouTube suggested it, and I jumped on and I took a look, and he was going into one of his experiences. He had a live, he was going into one of them, and it was fantastic. It was really, really good. And Dano has a fantastic community as well. So go check him out. But before you do, make sure you finish watching this episode first. And before we get into that episode, I want to say, I want everybody to write in the comments. So pause the episode. Write in the comments, what is your favorite cryptid? Okay? Tell me what your favorite cryptid is. Make sure you pause it. Do it right now. Write in the comments, favorite cryptid. And then after that, press play. Okay, you're back. Good. You all did it, right? I'm counting on you. Make sure you guys all do that. And without further ado, let's bring Dano to the stage. All right. So, Dano, welcome to Codega's Codex of Curiosities. I am very glad to have you on. I stumbled upon your channel. It was suggested to me, and I caught you in the middle of you telling an experience that was fascinating. But before we jump into any of that, I want you to tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself and where they can find you, like where I found you.
okay. Well, first I want to ask you,
Yeah.
who recommended you? Like,
YouTube.
who recommended me to you? Oh, really? Okay,
YouTube. Yeah,
awesome.
it was
That's
I was
awesome.
just like, what should I watch? What should I watch? And I'm going through, and it was a recommended. You were on a live. It was recommended. I'm like, okay, let's click on this, and there we go. And I was like, okay, I'm hooked. I'm hooked. It was some
Cool,
good
man.
stuff, man.
I appreciate that. So you guys, my name's Dano. I'm the host, as you can see, the host of the Cryptid Podcast. I am an Air Force veteran, very proud Air Force veteran. Served 91 to 95. Actually enlisted in 1990, but delayed enlistment made me push out my activation date out into February of 91. Like I said, got out in 95. Was a police officer, security police officer in the Air Force, and two bases I was stationed at. There was a lot of paranormal activity going on. My whole life, I've been experiencing things, paranormal, cryptid, and only had one UFO encounter. Um, But I'm married. I have 3 beautiful children. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren, and yeah, I started doing this in. I had a paranormal podcast before called the Paranormal Narrative. Then I started receiving some really, really dark and unwanted attention via email, and it
Wow.
was dealing with. I don't mind talking about paranormal
Yeah.
things. I just don't like talking about demons, the occult, possessions, witchcraft, black magic, that type of stuff. I don't like messing with that stuff. And that's what these people were wanting to talk about and almost demanding to come on my show because they had a message that they needed to have heard. And I think one of the words they used is I was the perfect vessel to get their word out. And so I was like, nah, it's not happening. So I deleted the channel, I deleted the email, I deleted everything. And I had some great, great episodes on there. And kind of stayed away from there. Started being a co-host on my buddy Josh Smith's channel, the Mysteries Unknown. And he kind of pushed me in the way of getting my channel started.
Getting back on that horse then. Yeah, that's terrifying, man. And I agree with you. I have received some messages as well, and it's just like, no, no. It's I do go into those sides, but I'm not trying to get people who are in those sides. I'm trying to get the people who have been redeemed. I just did an interview today. I mean, I just released an interview today where it was like a redemption minister. Actually, this
Mhm.
gentleman is like he has a ministry about redeeming and helping people, like salvation and whatnot from deliverance from evil is kind of that's what it's called. And yeah, I agree with you. It's this fine line that we walk, and perhaps when we're shedding these lights, we attract the dark as well, and it's
Yeah.
it's scary. Like I just your story alone, that proves it, that there are these people out there that, especially with that statement of vessel, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that is a creepy statement. Some people won't understand, but for me,
Mm,
it's kind of like, yeah, you're going to be a container for something else, or you're going to share space with something else that is
yeah.
not something you want to.
And I don't hide my faith. I'm very solid and dedicated to my faith. And yeah, I try to live the right life. Again, people may look at that me saying that statement is that I'm better than somebody. I'm just a regular guy. It's just I have very strong convictions. Uh, I like to think I have a very strong moral compass, and there's things that I just will not compromise on. It's my love of God, my love of my family, my love of my country, my integrity. That's just things that I hold dear to my heart, and my family is like one of my most sacred things in me. And the last thing I want to do is ever bring anything negative to my family, and I'll protect them at all costs. But so I started the channel. I started it in October of 2024. Posted my first episode, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, November of 2024, and then um, hit the milestones to become monetized with YouTube in January, like the second week of January. Right now, I'm sitting just under 4,000 subscribers. I'm grinding. You and I were talking before we started. So if you guys, your listeners would like to check out my channel, it's the Cryptid Podcast. I do a Monday morning live that I call Coffee with Dano, and I usually do that from 6:45 to 7:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then every Wednesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, I drop a new episode. And usually on Saturdays, I will do a live stream. The new time is now 7:30 Central Standard Time, and I usually talk about either a specific cryptid, a group of cryptids, or an incident or an encounter. I've done the Marble Mountain incident. I've done the Whitehall A Bear Road incident that happened in 1976 up in Whitehall, New York. And if you're not familiar with that, that
I'm
is an
not.
amazing encounter. Oh, it is one of the most well documented Bigfoot encounters, and it's not just a one time thing. This happened over the span of a couple of weeks. Multiple law enforcement people were involved. Uh, State, county, and local PD were all involved. Um, I talked about the siege of Hanabi, um, the Moleon monster in Arizona, New Mexico area.
That's a
So
what is that one? The Molian
that
monster.
that one, if you look up the Moleon, and it's funny how it doesn't, it's not spelled how it sounds. And it's a it's like a rocky outcrop that just lifts up into the air, and they call it the Mogollon Rim, and it's a wilderness, and they have what they call Bigfoot out there. Um, I've done the Beast of Bray Road, and actually, I live 5 hours away from that area, and so
So
my
yeah,
daughter and I were gonna
you're
take a
fairly
trip.
close. You could make a day trip there for sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then just in my area where I live now, there's multiple sightings. I live like 20 minutes from Doug Hychek,
Okay, yep.
um, the creator of Monster Quest. He also has Untold Radio Network on here. Super nice guy. I really enjoyed time that I spent with him hanging out. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on just in our area. There are multiple sightings of Sasquatch. My stepson had what he still to this day believes he had an encounter coming home from his dad's place. But yeah, my life has been just packed with paranormal stuff, and I like I said, you guys can find me on YouTube and Spotify.
Right on, Dano. So let's uncork those experiences that you've had. You know, like the one that I heard. Is that where we want to start, or is there another one where you'd like to
You're the
begin?
boss, man. Hey,
Let's go into it. Let's dive into
cool.
your, I don't know, crawler, rake, unexplainable thing.
Pell crawler. Some people say skinwalker, but you know, to me, I first learned about it as a rake. Didn't know what it was at the time. I had just moved back to Tennessee. Um, I kind of screwed up my junior year of high school. I failed a couple classes, and the way the education system was in Washington State, um, I knew I was not going to graduate on time. I knew there was no way. I needed a certain amount of credits, and I knew by failing those classes, I was not going to get those credits. So I was going to have to do summer school, and I'm like, oh man, that's not cool. So I talked with my dad. And I moved back to Tennessee and I lived with my mom and my stepdad and my younger brother. And I'd gone to the same high school my senior year as I did half of my freshman year. So this area was not unknown to me. I had friends that I made my freshman year of high school, and now here I am, my senior year of high school. And one of them, and I'm not going to use I'm not going to use anybody's real names. I'll give you a generalized. I'll just tell you what county it is. Um, uh, I have, I've talked to my buddy, after the incident, after I even got out of the military, I introduced him to my little girl when she was younger. And, we sat down and he's like, I just don't want to talk about it anymore. Yeah, his dad wound up selling off part of the property. His dad and his mom live in Florida. Um, and yeah, he's like, I just don't want to talk about it, you know? And so what happened so this was the summer before our senior year of high school. And this happened in Shelby County, Tennessee.
So I'm
And
assuming this is around like 88, 89.
89, 88, well, yeah, 80, 89, because 89, 90 was my senior year. So 89, and uh, he knew I was in town, and I was real good friends with him my freshman year. So it's back in the day. I don't know if you're a Gen Xer. I'm a Gen Xer, but you know how it is. And people out there who are Gen Xers, you understand how it is, man. You could just go up to your friend's house, and their parents, would either give you a hard time because they really enjoyed you coming over, you were a good kid, or they would make it known that they don't like you and they don't want you around. And, you could pretty much go in, knock on the door, and then walk into somebody's house if the front door was open because they looked at you as part of your family. And that's how my buddy, um, I'm gonna call him Logan. That's how Logan and I were, and his dad, Mr. Eddie, was just a an old school farm boy. You know, he had a couple hundred acres of land. Again, I don't know the specific acres, but it was easily a a couple hundred acres of land, and he grew stuff like soybeans and cotton and other crops like that. But it wasn't like one big giant like farm. You know, where his house was, where his pole barn was, where he kept his equipment, was separated from, I think he had 3 or 4 what I call grow fields where he planted his crops, and each one of them was separated by, like, a little crop of trees, you know, the length of the field, but maybe 50 feet wide at most between these fields, and then he had, like, just a little access road that would go, you know, he'd plow, he'd start here, he'd plow, he'd come out here, and then he'd go down the access road, and he'd do it that way. Now between the grow fields and his backyard was about a 20-acre swath of woods, and in the middle of these woods was an old farmhouse. And I'm guessing late 1800s, early 1900s, maybe, you know, like 1920, 1930, maybe. And it was a pretty big house. And I come over one day and I knock and I walk in the door and his dad's like, he's like, "You just walk on in like you live here. What you think you run things now?" And I go, "Oh, you know," I turn around to go and he goes like, "Get over here," you know. And so, you know, kind of gave me a hard time. And Logan comes out of his bedroom. He's like, "Oh, hey man, what's going on?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "So we gonna hang out? What are we gonna do? A bonfire? You know, whatever." He's like, "Let's go ride some dirt bikes, you know, mini bikes." I'm like, "Cool." And he goes, "You want to stay the night?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll stay the night." You know, and his dad's like, "Yeah, that's great," you know. And so we go out and we get go out to the pole barn. We get the mini bikes going, and we tear off. And before we left, his dad's like, he's like, "Listen, don't get in any trouble. You know, your mom and I were going to be going to this place. They had some function they were going to." And he goes, "The number's here." He goes, "Don't you dare call me. Don't call for us unless the house is on fire or someone died. Don't bother us. Will probably be home later tonight, if not tomorrow morning sometime." We're like, "Okay." And he's like, "Don't let those damn dogs, you know, in the house. You know, those dogs don't belong in the house." And he had 3 great big farm dogs. They were just, I think one was a German Shepherd and the other 2 were mutts, you know, but they were big dogs. We're not talking small dog. We're talking, I think the German Shepherd weighed the least. He was probably 80 to 90 pounds. All the other dogs, the other 2 dogs were like 100, 105, 120 pounds. They were just big dogs. And these dogs, I watched coyotes come through the backyard, come along the edge of the woods while we're out cooking out, whatever. And the dogs just sat there and looked at him like, "Yeah, it's the norm. It's a so what? They're not going to come up here." They never barked unless someone pulled up in the driveway. And Mr. Eddie, his one of his absolute favorite things in the world was his backyard. It was like 2 acres. It was manicured, beautiful. Y- You don't ride bikes across it. You don't ride mini bikes across it. You know, if he thought you were doing something wrong in his yard, he would lose his mind. He was like, "Well, stay off my lawn," that type of thing, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Um, so there was an access road that went down alongside the side of the backyard, then to the edge of the woods, and then it drove down the edge of the woods a little ways, and then it went into the woods. And so as we're, you know, we went by and we're driving around all through these back trails over by the grow fields where he plants. And then we hit on some access roads and we went over to some friend's house, you know, and we were just hanging out and we realized it was getting a little late, right? And when I got over there, it was probably like, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. So we start heading back, and by the time we get back, we're thinking, you know, we're gonna be able to, you know, maybe see his dad or something like that. Can you hear that banging?
Slightly. It's fine. It is
Nope.
fine. It's barely,
Okay.
barely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So, you know, we start heading back, and as we come into the woods, now the way we're coming is this house, you could see it. And the house, there was probably from the path that we rode on to the house is maybe 25, 30, maybe 40 feet. Okay. So it wasn't super long, but it was all clear. It was all cleared out around where this house was. Trees and stuff were growing all along on the side and in the back, but for some reason, this whole front side was still kind of clear. And as we're driving through, Logan's kind of slows down a little bit, which caused me to slow down. And I kind of look over and I thought I saw somebody standing in one of the windows, like the lower windows, in this house. And hearing Logan get on the mini bike, just like open it up and take off, that kind of brought my attention back to, oh, we're heading back up to the pole barn. So again, I gun it and we take off, we go ripping up through. And what was really odd is that he did something I'd never seen him do with his mini bike. And when we pulled up, he literally just jumped off it and let it go and took off running towards the house. And as I come whipping up, I get off of it and I'm running up behind him. I'm like, dude, I go, did you see somebody down there in the house? He's like, yeah, why do you think I dumped the bike? I goes, I'm gonna see if my dad's still here. And so we go running in the back, and of course they're not there. He leaves a note, we left, don't F around, don't do anything stupid,
Yeah.
Don't be dumb. And about the time we get in, it's probably like 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So it's still kind of bright out, but you know that the sun's going to be setting in probably an hour or so, right? So we go back out, we put the bikes in the garage or in the pole barn, and we go back in and we just going and hanging out in the house. We're goofing off. Well, it gets darker and we're getting hungry. And he's like, hey man, what do you want to eat? And I go, hey, I don't know, what you got, chicken sandwiches? He's like, cool. So he's in the kitchen, and he's cooking, and I'm doing something. Now, I don't know where you're located at, but if any of your listeners are from down south, you know that the man of the house has his throne. And Mr. Eddie's throne was this oversized plush, like recliner rocker, you know, chair.
And what's usually you never go in there. You don't sit in that chair.
No, you do not sit in that chair. And so the way his chair was angled, was kind of angled, and the TV was over here, and he had an end table with a lamp on it, and then literally I could touch the window. Well, I'm number one. I have my shoes on. I'm sitting in his chair, but how you're not supposed to sit in the chair. I've got my legs draped over one of the arms. I got my back up against one of the arms, and I've got the remote control, and I'm just click, 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 just going through channels like crazy. Got it up louder than it should be. And I'm probably doing that for, a good 15, 20, 25 minutes. And Logan comes out a couple times and just see what's on the TV and stuff. And he goes back in. Well, I start hearing like this scratching noise,
Okay.
like scratch, 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 scratch,
Like
scratch.
kind of thing or something.
Well,
Yeah.
it felt
Or
like
more on
something like
wood.
more like on a screen, like
Okay.
someone was
Oh,
scratching the
okay.
screen,
Okay. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. That's a distinct sound.
And I'm like, oh man, did I blow one of the speakers in their TV?
Oh shit.
And
Okay, I see what
and
you're
and
saying.
that's exactly, I'm like, "Oh," and I said, "Logan, I think I blew a speaker in your TV. Your dad is gonna kill me." And so I thought it might have also been the channel. So I changed the channel and that noise is still there. I changed the channel again, and then it kinda gets quieter. I'm like, "Okay, no problem." Well, then it starts scratching again. I'm like, "Man, that's gotta be a speaker." So I turn it down. I turn it all the way down, and I hear this scratching still. And I'm like, what what the heck is that? And I hear it coming from behind me. Now remember, I got my back to the window, and I'm literally, I can reach and touch this window. That's how close I am to it. And I hear this scratching, and I turn and I look, and I see this face like looking in. And I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed on how I screamed. It was a high pitch shrill. I screamed like a little kid, my grandson screams, right? He's 3. And I'm like, "Logan, there's something at the window." And he's like, "What?" He hears me scream. He comes running. He's like, "What are you screaming at?" And I go, "It's right there. It's right there. Look, it's right there." And he goes up, and I'm thinking he's gonna look like this,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stand. No, he gets right up to the window, right up to the window, looks, and he jumps off the window, right? And he goes, "I just saw it. I just saw it. Something just ran along the side of the house or ran from the window." And I go, "Well, what was he?" He goes, "I don't know." So he runs into his room, comes out with 2 shotguns. He's like, "Let's go get it." And I'm like, "No." And so he's like, "Let's go get it." So I'm like, "All right." So we start loading our pockets up with shells, and we load up the shotguns. I'm 17 years old. He's 17 years old. We go heading out. As we're walking through the mud room, his dad had like one of these big, the best way I can describe it is a lunchbox with a big light on it. It's like a big, and at this time, again, this is like 1989. So at the time, it was super bright, but not compared to what you have now.
Is it one that
So
had like those 2 huge batteries inside of it?
it had like one big battery in
What?
it,
Okay, okay,
like
yeah,
one big
yeah. So
battery.
it was like this thing, like this big
Yeah, and he carried it
Duracell
like
or
this,
something. Yes, yeah.
and he
You almost
carried it like
carried the
that.
battery, is what you were carrying. Yeah,
Exactly. And so he gets it off the charger, and he starts going out, and I go, "Where's my flashlight?" He goes, "There's one in the drawer." So I grab it, and it's like one of those plastic 2C cell battery, that if you have brand new batteries, you might see 2 feet, 3 feet in front of
yeah.
you if you're lucky. And so we go out, and as soon as we open up the back door and get onto the back porch, we hear his dogs losing their mind. Now, remember, these dogs never barked at anything unless someone was coming into the driveway, right? Never did. And we're looking for him. And he goes and he turns this flashlight on, and we can barely see these dogs now. And they're out by the edge of the woods at the end of his backyard. So we go walking out there and we're like, "Come on, boys, come on, come on back up here. Come on." We don't know what's going on. We saw what we saw. We wanted them to get up here. Now, they must have saw what we saw, and they took off after it. That's what we're thinking. So we get up to them. We're about 5-10 feet behind the dogs, and they're a good 25 feet from the edge of the woods. They're not even on the little path, the access road, whatever you want to call it, that's on the edge of the woods. And they're just barking and barking. I mean, their hocks on the back of their necks. It's all their hair's all standing up, and I mean, these dogs are looking like they want to go to war. And we're trying to get them away, and about we get to the dogs, and we hear like this scream, growl, whatever it was. It was crazy. And we hear this, and you hear something in the woods after we hear this scream or growl, or it wasn't a howl, it wasn't a yell, it was a like a I can't even describe what it was, but it was like a really loud scream almost, not like a woman or anything, but I can't describe what this was.
Maybe like a fox. I don't know if you ever heard of fox before. They have like this scream to them, which is
Probably
so
more
off-putting.
like a bobcat or
Okay.
or a cougar,
Okay.
but
Okay.
had more bass in it, I guess you can say,
Yeah.
right? And so I go to look at Logan, and I'm like, I was gonna ask him, "What the hell was that?" And I don't see Logan standing next to me. I don't see the dogs standing next to me. I do a quick look over my right shoulder, and I'm seeing the dogs and Logan running through the backyard towards the house.
He just left you?
He
He just
bolted,
abandoned you. Oh my
and
god.
I have no idea what's going on, right? And this all happened in seconds. It's not like this drug out for 10, 15 minutes. And I immediately put my flashlight out. This little crap plastic flashlight about that long, about that big around, like that big around. And I'm holding it, and I got the shotgun in one hand, and I got the thing here, and I hear it coming through the woods, like it's coming at me. And then I hear that scream again, but not as loud as the first one. So I take off running.
Of course.
I'm I'm at a dead run, but for some reason I stop and I go with my flashlight again, and I can hear this thing coming out of the woods. Like I, I didn't see it. I felt like it was coming after me. So I go running, and Logan's fumbling with the doorknob. He can't get the door open for whatever reason. The dogs are trying to climb over each other to get into the house. So we get into the house, and we immediately start locking doors, closing drapes, locking windows. We took Mr. Eddie's chair, and I don't know why our minds were thinking this way, but we shoved his dad's chair, Mr. Eddie's chair, up into the stairwell, thinking that if this thing could jump up on the roof and come through an upper window, that chair would stop it from coming down the stairs after us, right? I don't know what we were thinking. And he's like, "What was that?" I said, "Man, I have no idea what that was." So now we're afraid to look out any of the windows. We're afraid to go to any of the doors. We've got all the lights on in the house. Every single light on is in the house. TV's on, radio's on, everything that we could turn on to think that it's going to protect us. We're on. And we have shotguns, and we have 3 dogs. Well, the next thing I remember is I feel my foot getting kicked. And I open my eyes, I'm laying on the floor, and it's Mr. Eddie standing over me. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning.
So
And
you were terrified, turned on
yeah,
everything, and then next thing you know, you're waking up in the morning.
yeah. Waking up in the morning, I've got a shotgun next to me. I've got one of those 100-pound dogs laying across like my legs. I've got another dog between me and Logan's got one of the dogs. And you hear Mister, "What the F is going on? Why are the GD dogs in the effing house? What is blah, blah, blah?" And when we get our wits about us, we again, like 2 little school kids, blah, 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 we're just jabbering, trying to tell him at the same time. He finally tells us to shut the F up, goes to Logan, what happened? So Logan starts telling me, and I keep popping in like, "Well, and then this happened, and then this, and this, and this, and this." And he's like, "Where did you see it?" And so we both point at the window. We both point at the window. Now, Mr. Eddie was a big man. His hands were giant. He would put his hand over your face and touch like the middle of your head. That's how big his hands were. He's a big country boy. He's a farmer. Uh, Easily 6'1", 6'2", if that, probably 290, 300 pounds. He's a big boy. He goes out, and now we're standing, we're looking out the window. We could see out the window. We could see him come up to where I saw it. And he stopped and he's looking around. He's looking at the house. He's looking around. All of a sudden, he just turns around real quick. And he doesn't run, but he's moving with purpose. And he comes back in the back door, goes into his bedroom, comes back out. He has his AR with him. He has some magazines with him. He's like, "Let's go." And we're looking at him like, "What do you mean, let's
Lock and
go?"
load. Let's go. Yeah.
He's like, "Let's go." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Get in the truck." I go, I'm not getting in that truck." And he's like, "Daniel, get in the effing truck right now." And so me and Logan, against our free will, we're being held hostage by his dad. Uh, we go and we get in the back of the farm truck. And his dad goes driving down the side, down the access road, turns into the woods. Now we're thinking he's gonna drive, into the woods, and then we're gonna walk up to the house. No. He drives literally right up almost to the stairs, going up onto the porch. And he gets out and he's like, "Logan, where'd you see it?" And Logan just points. He's in that window. He's like, "What window did you see it in?" And he points again. Logan's not getting out of the cab of the truck. He's staying in the truck. I'm standing in the bed of the truck looking over the roof of the truck. I can see right into the house Because this house, the way the layout was, you go up the front porch, the whole front porch was the entire width of the front of the house. Okay? You walk in, if you open the front door, you can look right through the back door. It was a straight shot through. You walk in the front, you're in the living room. There's a little area that you walk to, you turn to your right, and there's a little landing, and then there's a set of stairs that go up. Okay? Now, at the top of that landing, there's like 3 more stairs that go into a hallway, but straight ahead is like another little hallway. It has like 2 little storerooms in there. Too small for bathroom, too small. They're almost like a closet, so to speak. And that hallway led to a set of stairs that went downstairs into the kitchen. Okay? So you walk into the living room. There's a bedroom off of the left side of the living room. There's a bedroom. You go into the dining room. Off to the right side, there's a bathroom, and there's like another room off on the other side of the dining room. And then you had the kitchen, and then the kitchen went this way over here, and then over to the right is where the stairs came down. And then you walked out onto the back porch, and then off into whatever. And so he's like, Daniel, where'd you see it? And I go, that's that window right there, the one right next to the front door on the right-hand side. He's like, okay. So he goes up, and he's got his AR. He just walks on up, cowboy boots, clomp, 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 right up into the porch, walks into the house, and he's looking around, and then I see him go off this way, off to the left into the living room. Then I see him again. He goes into the dining room, and I'm like, why is he going off to the left? I don't understand it. I
Yeah, because
don't
you
get it.
saw it on the right on that little landing, right? So,
Yeah. And I'm like, why is he going out of my view? Because I can't see
oh,
him,
okay. Yeah.
you know, because I know something was in that house.
Yeah.
Logan knows something was in that house. So he goes, and now he goes into the kitchen, and he gets out of view. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? Next thing you know, I hear him yell, Logan, start the truck, start the truck. And he's like yelling as loud as he can. And you hear him, and I see him running through the house. And I'm thinking he's gonna run down the stairs. Logan slides over, he starts the truck. Mr. Eddie does not take the stairs. He jumps off of this deck, off of this front porch, and lands almost to the front, the driver's side door. Opens up. He's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. He slides over, or Logan slides over. Mr. Eddie gets in the truck, gets ready to put it in gear. And about that time, I noticed one of the dogs had wandered down. When Mr. Eddie put it in reverse, he almost hit this dog. But this dog like did a matrix move or whatever, got out of the way and took off running towards the house. Now, as we come flying out of the woods, we don't make that left-hand turn to go down that little access road. Mr. Eddie drove through his backyard, tearing
His
his
treasured backyard.
his manicured backyard. He drove right through it. He parked that farm truck right next to the back porch, and we're standing like, what's going on? I'm still standing now. I'm not stand when I was riding. I wasn't standing, but now I'm standing in the bed of the truck, and I'm looking towards the woods. Like, is this thing coming out again? You know, and if it's coming out again, I think I got a pretty good chance of maybe taking a shot at it. Right? He goes in. About 30 minutes later, we hear this truck, like this semi truck, and you hear it slowing down. You hear it pulling into the driveway, and it's pulling a trailer that has a excavator on it. They unload the excavator. Mr. Eddie jumps up into the cab, has his AR with him, and he's like, "Come on, let's go." And we're like, "What?" Okay, so I'm still in the bed of the truck. Logan slides over, and Mr. Eddie takes the excavator down the little side road, access road, goes into the woods. Logan follows him, and we watched Mr. Eddie level this house and then set the rubble on fire. Completely leveled the house, set it on fire. All said and done, the only way you're going to tell that there was a house there is maybe some of the foundation, and there's a big clearing in the woods. So
What was in there?
exactly. So after that whole ordeal, school started. Me and Logan hung out. Um, I try to talk to him about it before. He's like, "Man, I just don't want to talk about it." I'm like, "Okay, man, that's cool." But what? Because I asked so many times, what was it? What did your dad see? And I just don't want to talk about it. Graduation comes. I leave Tennessee. I go back to Washington State. I join the Air Force. I go overseas. I go to Wyoming. I meet my ex. I move back to Tennessee. Um, I don't see Eddie, Mr. Eddie. I don't see Logan. I move up to Minnesota, get married, have a kid. Uh, on a vacation, just me and my daughter went down. I saw him at a restaurant. I saw Logan at a restaurant. Now I'm in my mid 30s now, and I see him, and it's like we never missed a minute. You know, we
Good
just look
friends, some
older.
good friends like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just started talking and stuff, and I said, "Man, do you remember that time?" He's like, "I know exactly where you're going." He's like, "Dan," he's like, "Buddy, I just don't wanna talk about that." And I go, even after all these years, like, "Man, I just don't." I said, "What did your dad" I go, "What did your dad see?" And he's like, "It's not what he saw, it's what he heard." And that was it. And that was it. So,
That is quite the story, man. That is an exhilarating story. Now, I do have some questions, of course.
sure.
Can can you describe the face when you looked through that window? What did that face look like that was staring back at you?
Well, the skin, was like a pale white or grayish. Um, I've had some people tell me that I saw gray, an alien. I don't know that. Um, I had looked and looked and looked, and the best way I can describe it from what I saw was if you look at the alien from that movie Signs with Mel Gibson, similar to that, but not the same color. Its nose almost kinda looked like Voldemort's nose,
Okay, that
you
makes a
know?
lot of sense. Yeah.
Eyes were bigger than usual, and they were black. Like, I didn't see eyeballs, but his eye area, I don't know if he had eyes or not, I don't know. The skin was, like, sagging, like loose.
Okay.
You could definitely see, you know, the bones, if that's what you wanna call 'em. Um, and its mouth, a wide mouth, like,
Like
almost like a
freakishly wide.
like you could stick a football in its mouth, no
Oh
problem.
shit.
Um,
And
I didn't
teeth?
I didn't see any teeth, it didn't smile at me or anything like that, but when I saw it, it was not afraid that I saw it. But the thing that really disturbs me the most is, remember, I'm messing around with the TV for a good, 25, 30 minutes, something like that, and I'm hearing this scratching. Who's to say that thing didn't come up and was looking in that window before it started scratching? How long was it there?
It was staring at you for quite a while. That is for sure. It's like it might have been further back and then just slowly made it slinked its way up.
Mhm.
And then why do you think why do you think Mr. Eddie decided to like believe you guys? It was kind of like there was something he saw outside. I would assume that kind of triggered him to act the way he did. Do you know of anything that he might have saw outside?
My only guess is that, 1, he probably saw that the screen might have had, tears in it. There might have been scratches on the side of the house, um, maybe some type of footprints. That's all I could guess.
And what do you think about that missing time? Like, because there definitely was missing time. That you
Well,
next
it
thing you know,
wasn't
you
like
waking up. You woke up.
well, I know we fell asleep.
Okay.
I mean, I know we fell asleep. I mean, we were
Okay.
watching
Okay.
TV, but I mean, it's just like, you know, if we fell asleep, we might have been only asleep for maybe a couple of hours tops. It's not like we went in there and it's 9:30. Oh, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, yeah.
I know the conversations that Eddie and I had were something like, "What the F was that, man? What the hell? Should we call your dad?" "No, your dad said, my dad said, 'Don't call unless someone's dead or whatever.'" I said, "Man, what the hell? Should we call the cops?" And, what are they gonna do? You know, you got 2 17-year-old kids home alone, that are acting all crazy. "What have you guys been smoking? What have you guys been
Yeah.
drinking?"
Oh, you saw something outside? Sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, So, again, you know, I could account for the time. We fell asleep and, I could just imagine what Mr. Eddie thought when he opened up that front door and
Was
here
his
we're all
chair
sprawled out.
still against the stairs
Yep.
too? Oh, shit.
Oh, and I caught hell for that.
Yeah.
I caught so much hell for that.
You gotta protect yourself. You gotta barricade yourself, right? It's,
That
for the safety
that's what we
measures.
that's for whatever reason, I think about it now, I'm like, "Man, there's no way. If that thing really wanted to come in, there's no way. It would just climb right over the chair."
Yeah, of
And it wasn't
course.
like we shoved it up in there. We just pushed it right up against the
Right up against
entrance
it.
of the stairway. You know, it's it's not gonna stop nothing.
Slow it down a little. It might slow it down, a couple seconds, but, maybe just enough time to get a shot off, but, who
Yeah.
knows? Wow. So that is super interesting and terrifying at the same time, especially being 17 years old, and seeing this creature. Do you think that there was more than one, or was there just? Do you think it was just one?
I never really thought about that. I don't wanna think that there was more than one, and, why he tore the house down, I don't know. Maybe he was thinking that this is maybe like a demon of some kind, and if
That's
he
what I was thinking. Yeah,
got rid of the location and killed it with fire, I guess, and I don't know. But we watched the entire thing. We didn't see anything come out of the house while he was tearing it down. We didn't see anything come out of the house. We were there the entire time.
Nothing sneaked up back or anything.
Well, if it did, it did before we could
Yeah,
see it.
that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it heard this large excavator pulling up, and it's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Ugh. And there was no other reports from anybody else in the area. Like, have you ever looked now back into it to see if there were any reports of anybody reporting anything strange in that time?
Yeah, I've looked numerous times. I've even asked a bunch of friends that I still have back in the day that lived in the same area. Like, I only lived, like, maybe a quarter of a mile away from Logan's house, and then I had a bunch of friends that lived in the same neighborhood I did. I mean, "Did you guys ever hear or see anything really weird?" Because, I mean, my senior year, we've got our driver's license, we got cars, we used to hang out at places like this place called Big Daddy's. It was like a bowling alley and a pool hall and had, like, pizza and stuff in there, and that was like a local hangout, and, you know, uh there's like a little convenience store with a pizza parlor and a movie store that was right next, like pretty close to us. So there's a bunch of us hanging out, and I'm like, "Man," so we're driving around at all hours of the night, you know? "Did you guys ever see anything? Did you ever hear anything?" And I was getting, "No, no, what are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, like, I think I saw something." Like, "Man, you're stupid. What, you been smoking something? No, I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking."
Yeah.
Um, but
Of,
yeah.
of of course, people would say that. That's the norm. They have to try to discredit it, or discredit, or just try to talk it away as well. Even myself, when I've experienced things, I try to talk myself out of what I saw. I think that's we do that for sanity, almost for a sanity type reason.
You try to rationalize it, and you try to put me, I try to put things in boxes, and this does not fit in any box.
No, no, hell no, it does not. That is crazy. So, Dano, has there been anything else? So you've had like that. That's quite the experience, and that's like a full night of terror. But is there any other experiences? You said you saw a UFO as well.
Man, I saw a UFO my junior year of high school, so I wanna say October of was it '88? Let's see, I think I was, like, 17, 16. So it was I know it was my junior year of high school, I know it was, like, October. It wasn't too cold. This was in Washington State. It wasn't too cold, and my dad I used to live in Tacoma, with my dad, and my dad had a chance to buy a townhome, um, down in Lacey, Washington, which is near Olympia. And, I really didn't wanna move, you know? My dad told me about, "Oh, it's cool, you'll love it there," and I go, "No, this is where all my friends are." These I had friends there that had gone to elementary school with. I moved around a lot as a kid. I went to 9 different elementary schools, I went to, like, 6 or 7 different middle schools/junior high schools, and I went to 3 different high schools. Um, and, I had friends that I'd known since elementary school. I had friends that I'd known since junior high school when I lived in these areas. And, now I'm in high school. I just want to hang out with them. I want that stability. I want to be able to say, hey, my freshman, my sophomore, my junior, my senior year, I went to the same high school. That never happened. Um, and so my dad's like, "Well, will you come down and just look at it? Will you just come down and look at it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we go down, and the townhome was right next to a friend of his. And the minute I saw it, I was sold. Like, let's do this. It was on a lake, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do this." And he's like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "I won't do it." He goes, "But I have a chance to own this. I won't have to pay rent anymore. Pay a mortgage, and this is gonna be ours." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go, Dad." He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." So, we moved down there. I go to a new high school. I'm the new guy, and I'm just trying to fit in as much as I can. I make friends pretty easy, and I met this girl, and we hit it off, and we just started spending a lot of time together. And one day, one night, I said, "Hey, why don't you come on over? My dad's not home. Uh, our roommate's not home. Let's just kind of hang out. I'll cook you some dinner." And she's like, "Okay, that's cool," you know. And so we walked down to the boat dock, and we were stargazing, and we were probably down there for a good 25, 30 minutes, and it was a beautiful, clear autumn night. It wasn't too cold. We had sweatshirts on, things like that, blue jeans and sweatshirts. And all of a sudden, I kind of lean up and I go, do you hear that?" And she's like, "No, what?" And I go, "Do you feel that?" And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "You messing with me?" I go, "No, it's like electricity. Do you feel it?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do." And like the hair on her arms were standing up. Like there was like electricity in the air. And and I go, "You don't hear that." And she's like, "No." And I go, "Listen." And the best way I can describe what I heard is, if you have any Star Wars fans out there, the great big star destroyers that the Empire has, and you see them slowly going through space, and you hear that noise that their engines are making. That's similar to what I heard. And I go, "What is that?" So now I kind of roll over on my side and I sit up and I look to my left and back. And just when I look back, and I'm looking off into some woods. Now, the whole area now, those woods are gone. There are so many nice houses that are built in that area now, which sucks. But I look and I see this light pop on. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Is that like a helicopter light, like a searchlight? And that's what I thought it was. But this thing looked like it was scanning the all the wood, just wasn't making that noise, but it's just like slowly scanning back and forth, back and forth. And my girlfriend at the time, she's like, I don't want to be here. Let's go." And I'm like, yeah, let's go." So we get up and we run to the back of my house. We go in through the sliding glass door, shut it, and we both run up into my bedroom. Now, my bedroom I had a loft, but it's not your typical loft. I had like these shutters that covered the for the lack of a better term, a window that I could stick my head out and look down into the dining room and the living room of the townhome. But if I look straight out, there were like, I wanna say 5 or 6 windows that I could look straight out, and I could look right out to the lake, look out to the boat dock, see part of my backyard. I could look across the lake, right? And so,
That's actually a pretty fantastic room and location, eh?
oh, it was it how this townhome came up for sale, because to me, it was the best one out of all the townhomes there because of the view of the lake. It was perfect. I could look right down on our dock, right to our boathouse, you know? And so we're looking and I'm looking and she's standing behind me, kinda hanging on to me, and I'm like, I can still hear that noise. And I see this light now, it lights up the entire backyard. Lights up, it scans across, scans across, scans across, goes right down to the boat dock where we were at, and then the light's gone. And now I'm looking and I start seeing something, and it was dark. It was darker than the night sky. And I can slowly see this thing moving out over the water. And I saw like the best way I can describe it, and I don't know how big they were. I don't know how, but it kind of looked like, have you seen pin lights? It's like you like punch a bunch of holes into like a piece of cardboard and hold it up. That's what kind of it reminded me of. Now I'm not saying this thing was the size of a skyscraper, but it was easily the size of a football field, not the stadium, just the field. And this thing slowly moved out over the lake, and then before you could even blink my eyes, shot straight up in the air, just poof, straight up, and it was gone. It was absolutely gone. Now, I grew up around when I lived in Aurora, Colorado, I lived near Buckley Air Station. Okay, I've seen aircraft. I've seen the SR-71 fly in and out. My first stepdad took me to air shows, and that's what really got me into aviation. So I could not get enough about aviation. Air Force planes, I knew them. Navy planes, I knew them. Civilian planes, I knew them. This did not match any description of any aircraft, fixed wing, prop driven, jet driven, helicopter, blimp, Zeppelin, hang glider. It did not match anything that I'd ever seen in my life. And it was like a triangle, but not like what you see. Oh, I saw a triangle. And you see these depictions of people drawing of what they saw. This thing, it was like this, okay? So it was like this, but it was wide. So it was like a triangle. It was kinda like this, so it came up at a point, and then it just kinda, like, was flat near the bottom, so it wasn't like a triangle like this. It was like this.
Okay. So
And
and like it was triangular in shape, but it also had like a triangular peak as well?
no, no, it did
No.
not have a triangular peak because I
Okay.
couldn't see the top of it.
Okay,
I
okay.
couldn't see the top of it.
So it's
All I
triangular
could
in
s
shape, okay.
Yeah, triangular in shape, and it just shot up in the air so quick, like like that. And my girlfriend, she's like, "What was that?" I go, "I have no idea what that was." She's like, "Well, I'm gonna go home." I go, "You are not driving home alone." And she goes, "Well, will you go with me?" I go, "Do you want me to walk home alone?" And she's like, "No." I go, "Well, then you're gonna stay here. You can sleep here. I'll sleep on the floor, and we'll call it a night." And I said, "Oh, well, and I'll deal with your parents in the morning." And my dad came home. He saw my girl's car out there, and the next morning he was cooking breakfast. He's like, "So what happened?" I go, "Nothing, Dad." I said, "Dad, something happened last night." And he's like, "What?" And, he pulled me off to the side. He goes, "You better have used protection." And I'm like, "Dad, that's not what happened." I said, I said, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he could tell I was serious. And I told him what happened. He's like, "Oh, you're just imagining that." I'm like,
Ugh.
"No, I'm not."
He's more accepting of you having, having sleeping with your girlfriend. "Ah, that's
Yeah,
okay. Use protection." "No, I actually saw a UFO." "I don't think so."
yeah. Well, see, my dad, you know, I learned later in life that my dad saw a UFO when he lived up in Alaska. My dad, to the day that he passed away, believed that he saw a werewolf while he was hunting up in Alaska. Yeah, it was either I wanna say it was either before he was going to basic training or before he went to Vietnam. And he said he was hunting up near Ketchikan, Alaska, and he saw some mule deer cross this logging road that he was driving up. And as the last one crossed, he jumped out, ran to where they crossed, and got down. And they went down like again, guys, I don't know what you want to call it, a gully, a ravine, whatever. But they went down and they came up on another ridge across the way. And my dad was gauging it, and he said that it was probably, if he was to shoot one at on the other side of the ridge, uh, looking at about 500 to 600 yards,
Oh
maybe.
shit. Okay. A fair bit of
So
distance.
they were,
Yeah.
yeah, so they were moving. And as he's kind of glassing, because he saw them go down, and by the time he got there, he'd figured they'd already probably were moving down through the bottom and then up on their side. So he was glassing left to right and right to left, trying to find where they were at. Well, he saw some of them, so he started glassing to see where the rest of them were, because he was probably going to take, the way he described it, was probably going to take one. It was either in the middle or coming up in the rear. That's what he was, he didn't want to take one from the front and then all of a sudden they just scatter everywhere. So, uh, reasoning why, I don't know. So as he's getting ready to come back to the right with his binoculars, he sees movement coming from the left, like, and it's moving fast. And he's like, so he immediately goes back and he picks up on it. And he goes, I saw the biggest, blackest wolf I'd ever seen in my life. Now, my dad was raised in Alaska. They have wolves up there. He goes, I've never seen a wolf this big. This wolf was massive. And so it's coming across this ridge, and he goes, it stops. And all of a sudden it stands up on two legs and puts its hand up on the tree that it stopped next to. And he's looking at this thing, and he says it starts, and it's sniffing the air. And he goes, no sooner did it stop sniffing, it went, and it looked right at him, like,
Oh
there you are.
shit.
I'm getting goosebumps talking about this, because my dad was terrified. And so he said it looked right at him, like, I know you're right there. I see you. And it showed its teeth, and then it dropped down on the all fours and started going down to the bottom of this ravine towards him.
Oh shit.
And so he's looking down. Now he has to get up on his knees, and he's looking down now to see if he can see it in this, at the bottom, coming up through this brush. And he lost sight of it. And he's like, there's no, so he grabs his rifle and he chambers around, and now he's scoping. And now he's looking, and he picks up on it. He sees it. And he said it's probably about 200 yards away from him. This thing's moving fast. And I don't know what noise they make, but he said one of the mule deers let out a noise. I don't know if they bugle or grunt or scream. I don't know. I mean, I've only seen mule deer laying down, eating grass. I've never heard them make a noise, right? And it caught that thing's attention, and it looked off in the direction. And I'm assuming that it realized that my dad had a rifle in his hand now. And he said as he's watching it, it showed its teeth again, and it ran back off towards where the mule deer were going up over the ridge. And he said it got up on the side of this ridge, and it stopped again, stood up, looked at my dad or at my dad's direction, showed its teeth again, and then ran off on two legs up over the ridge where the mule deer were. Now, I've never known my dad to BS me. My dad was one of the most honest people that I know. Yeah, he might exaggerate stories on certain things. Like, I've been fishing with my dad before, and oh, I caught a 47. No, you didn't, Dad. That fish was not 47. That fish was maybe 15 inches. "Oh, well, you don't know. You were over there on the other side." Yeah, Dad, I know. But seeing my dad tell the story and seeing the fear, if not terror, in his eyes when he retold the story, I know my dad was telling me the truth. I could tell when my dad's BSing me. My dad was not BSing me at all. And so, you know, the encounters that I've had, I mean, I can remember encounters that I had when I was as young as 4 years old. I remember seeing a shadow man, maybe, a man. We lived in a house I call it the house on the hill. This is in Tacoma, Washington. The house we lived on overlooked I-5, Interstate 5. And we slept up in the attic that was all finished. It looked like just one big open room. It had like a little enclave that you could put either bunk beds side by side, or you could have them stacked on top of each other and push them up against the wall. And then there was a window. Now, the window was shaped really weird. The window was like long and then wide. It wasn't like a typical window, but it was up perfect so I could rest my hands or my arms on the windowsill because I slept on the top bunk, and I can look out and I could see part of the highway. I can look all the way down the road we lived on that had a bend in it to the left, but then I could see part of the city, and I could see all these lights, and I was always fascinated by these lights. I'm like, "Man, what's over there?" Again, I'm 4 or 5 years old. I'm like, "I wonder what's over there," you know? "Oh, I wonder where those people are going," you know? And this night, it was foggy, and where our garage was, there was a street light. And then you go down a little ways, and there was another street light, and you go down another ways. So from where our driveway was to where that bend in the road was, I think there was like 5 street lights, okay? And so I'm looking out, and again, it's foggy, so you can't really see that much, but there's a glow, makes the fog glow from these streetlights. And so I'm looking up there, and I'm kind of wondering and just kind of looking, and I lay down. And in my head, I hear, "Look, you need to look." So I peek my head up and I'm looking. I don't see nothing. I don't see anything at all. So I lay back down. And again, in my ear, my head, I hear, "I told you to look." And so I look, and at the very end, right where the bend in the road goes, I see something walk into that that light. And it's a figure of a man. And so I lay back down. And then I hear, "Oh, so you did see me. I see you all the time." Something like that. And something compelled me to look again. So I looked and it's still standing there. So I put my head back down. Curiosity got up. Now it's at the next light. I get back down. Again, I look back up. I'm getting goosebumps talking about this. It's at the next light. Now there is one more light between the one I just saw it at and the end of my driveway. And I start screaming. I wake my little brother up. He starts screaming. My mom hears me screaming. My dad hears me screaming. They come running upstairs. "What's going on?" I'm freaking out. "Dad, there's a man out there. He told me to look. He's been watching me." And I'm losing my mind. I'm like 4 or 5 years old. What 4 or 5-year-old is gonna make this up,
Right.
you know? I think the first horror movie that I ever saw was, I think, Jaws, and that was at a movie theater, a drive-in movie, you know? But this wasn't a shark. This was a man. And I told him, and my dad got up in the bed with me, and I was pointing, "He's right there, he's right there, he's right there." So my dad goes outside, and I overlooked this window overlooked the whole driveway, my dad's garage. I could look this way, could see where my dad came out through the back door, went into his shop, went into the garage, came back out, had a flashlight and a handgun. I watched my dad walk around the garage. I couldn't actually see down below, but he was walking along I could see the flashlight going like this. And then I see my dad walking down the street. Now, between the street and the fence, there was like a little swath of like a field that was too small for anything to be built there. It was just there. And I watched him walk that whole fence line all the way down to the bend in the road and then come back. And he came upstairs and he's like, "Son," he's like, "Buddy, there's no one out there." And I told him, I said, "Dad, I saw it. I'm crying. I'm not calm like I am now. I'm still hysterical." Um, so that's one that I remember. Uh, when I was going into second grade, my dad um got married to somebody else, and we didn't see eye to eye, me and this lady. So she didn't like me, I didn't like her, so I got shipped back to live with my mom. And so she was living in Florida at the time, and she she and her husband at the time were truck drivers, long haulers. So they would drive refrigeration trucks, produce, sides of beef, you know, all over the United States. And the company they worked for wanted to open up a satellite headquarters, satellite office in Lakeland, Florida. So we moved to Lakeland, Florida. I don't remember how big the property was. It was pretty big. It bordered an orange grove and grapefruit grove. And I remember walking around, and I asked my stepdad at the time, I go, "Hey, where do I catch the bus?" And he's like, "Oh, you catch it down there in that little shack right down there." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So one day I went down there and I walked into the shack and I thought he had been playing a trick on me because I walked in what I thought was fishing line, and it wasn't fishing line. It was a spider web.
Oh, nasty.
And this spider, I kid you not, was easily this big around, and it was eating a lizard, a small lizard. And I go running up, and I was freaking out, and he wound up killing the thing. But as I explored this property, I found a pond. And in this pond, I saw turtles, I saw frogs, I even saw a catfish come up and take a gulp of water or a gulp of air. And I'm like, "Oh, it's time to do some fishing," because I was all about fishing. So I go running back up and, "I need fishing. I saw a fish, a pond. I need the," and so, my stepdad gets all this fishing stuff for me. I go down there and our little toy poodle, little black toy poodle, his name was Charlie. He was my shadow. He comes following me down there. And so I go and I'm trying to catch frogs, that's not happening. Trying to catch turtles, that's not happening. So I throw my line in and I'm fishing. And I'm sitting there and just minding my business, and Charlie is sitting with me. And I see him kind of look up. So I look up as well, and I see this girl across the pond. It was a pretty nice sized pond. And I go, "Hey, hey, how's it going?" And she doesn't say anything, doesn't wave. And I mean, she could see me. She's looking right at me. So I put my pole down and I stand up and I take about 4 or 5 steps to walk around the pond, and she takes off running through the orange grove. And I'm like, "Well, that's weird." So now this is still during the summer. So literally every day I'm down at that pond, and I'm trying to catch frogs, turtles, I'm trying to catch fish. I did catch fish. But every single day I'd see this little girl. And then after, maybe about a week or so, I waved and she waved back. And then it just started slowly progressing. We would start talking to each other. Uh, she would sit next to me. If she sat on my right-hand side, Charlie would sit on my left-hand side. If she was on my left, Charlie would be on my right. She never petted him. He would always look at her. And so we had this conversation and things like that, and then school started. And so, one day after school, I'm sitting in the living room watching TV, and I hear a knock at the door. So I go running up, and before I get there, my mom opens up the door, and there's a gentleman standing there, an older guy. And he introduces himself, and he says, "I own the orange grove over there, and I know you guys were here." He goes, "Just time of season, it's really busy for me. I'm sorry, I'm not a good neighbor. I apologize. I just want to welcome you to the area, and if you guys ever want, fresh oranges or grapefruit, by all means, come on over and pick what you want and everything like that." And
Cool.
I hear him say orange grove, right? And I go, "Sir," I go, can that little girl come over and play?" And he's like, "What little girl?" And her name was Annie. Not really, but that's what I'm calling her. Um, and he kinda looked at me, he goes, "Oh, oh, buddy, no, she went home. She went home." And I'm like, "Hmm, okay, you know, no big deal. Maybe she was there visiting her grandpa during the summer. So, not a problem." So as time goes on, my mom gets divorced. I move back with my dad. Then I move back with my mom. Then I move back with my dad. Now I'm a freshman in high school. I'm in Tennessee. And one of the things we like to do was look through old photo albums. And I remember looking through this photo album, and Charlie had since passed away, and I see this picture of Charlie, and he was such a great dog. And he's got all this white sand on him, and he's trying to carry this stick that's easily way bigger than he should be trying to carry. And I started laughing. I go, "Mom," I go, "look at this picture of Charlie." I said, "Remember, this was at the house in Lakeland, you know? This is when we were coming back from the pond." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, I remember that." I said, "Mom," I said, "You remember that little girl, Annie?" I said, "I wonder what she's up to. She's easily gotta be the same age as me, same." And my mom just looked at me, and she's like, "Daniel." And I go, "What?" She goes, "Son, I don't know how to tell you this, but Annie passed away." And I go, "What?" I go, "Well, holy crap." And again, I'm like, "Well, that's sad." And I go, "Well, when did she pass away?" She's like, "Son," I go, "Well, how did she pass away?" She goes, "Well, she drowned." And I go, "What?" I go I go, "When did she drown? Where did she drown?" And she goes, "Son, I'm gonna tell you right now, she drowned in that pond on that property." And I go, "When?" And she goes, "A year before we moved in there."
Get out.
And and I'm like, "How do you know that?" And she's like, "Her grandfather, who you saw when you were little, and her mom and dad came to the house while you were at school, and they sat down and they told me the whole thing. They told your stepdad the whole thing, and they were just happy to know that she was happy and that she found somebody to play with." So this whole summer, Rye, that whole summer, I'm talking and hanging out with the ghost of a little girl that drowned in that pond a year before we moved in there.
That's crazy. But that's
Yeah,
also kind of beautiful and nice as well. It's like,
yeah,
you're a good friend, Dano. You're a good friend.
yeah. But again, I'm two second graders. It's just 100% innocent. You're kids, and that's what don't get me emotional, man, because I I am I am a big wuss, when it comes to certain things. But in that whole time frame, from that time to, I had a Bigfoot encounter. I've had a total of 5 Bigfoot encounters, uh, 1 sighting. Now, the first 2 that I had, I'm not gonna come out and tell you they were 100% a Sasquatch, but everything that transpired in those times, everything points to a Sasquatch. Not a bear, not a bear, not a cougar, nothing like that. The ones that I had after, I believe I saw one in New Jersey when I was, going through some training up in New Jersey for the military. Um, I've seen ghosts in Cheyenne, Wyoming, uh, Norwich, Germany, where I was stationed. Y What do you wanna hear?
I think we could almost hear a whole nother episode of this, man.
Mhm.
It's crazy. I'd be more than happy to have you back on another episode just to continue this at another
Sure.
time if you're game for that.
Yeah, sure.
Right on, man. This is incredible. You, yeah, you. it's funny how we are, because myself as well, I've had a life chock full of experiences and paranormal, and I've seen a portal too. I've been able to see through the portal to another place.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And this is recent. We're talking just over a year ago. This just happened. Not like a kid thing or anything like that. I'm not discrediting children or anything like that. I'm saying like this just happened, and it was like 15 minutes of me looking through to this other side from a fixed point. I could see through. It was incredible, incredible. But yeah, and I think you are kind of like on the same path as I am, full of these experiences, looking for answers, just trying to, piece these things together. And it's I don't say that we're the gifted or the chosen ones. No,
Mm.
it just happens. I almost feel like you get marked. You almost get marked, and you get more and more of these experiences. And it's not a blessing or a curse either way. That's just how it's happened. It's bizarre, but I'm sure you know that all too well.
Well, I mean, I hear people because I never really paid attention or anything, but the whole "What blood type are you? What blood type are you?" And I happen to be A negative.
Okay.
"Oh, you're negative blood, and when's your birthday, and, what number do you come up with?" And, it's the whole
Yeah.
33 and this type of stuff, and I'm in that thing. I think I'm like 13 or something like that, or 3 or whatever. "Oh, do you have M's and X's on your palms?" And like, "Well, I got 2 M's, 1 on each palm."
Yeah.
"What does that mean?" "I don't know," but,
I agree
people
with you.
find something in it, so.
Yeah, they try to get an answer somehow, but it's just I feel, and I'm the same way. I get that said a lot. Like, oh, what is your birth chart? What does that add up to? And I'm like, for me, it was three, I think, actually. And then
Mhm,
I'm like, okay, it is what it is. And yeah, your palms. What do you have on there? What about this? What about that? I'm like, um, I'm an O positive for my blood type.
mhm,
It's yeah, it just happened though. All my life, strange things have happened. Why? I don't know. It just does.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, in a lot of these things, I've never actively gone out and ever looked for anything to happen,
Yeah.
you know? Like, when I got touched by a ghost when I was in the military, I didn't look for that to happen. When I had my Bigfoot sighting, I didn't look to have that happen. It just happened. It just happens that unfortunately, I came from a broken home, and I've lived so many places in the United States because of that. And the kind of kid I wasn't a kid that sat around and played Atari or watched TV. I was a kid that got out, rode my bike. If on the weekends, as soon as the sun came up, I was on my bike and I was out riding around. I was out camping, I was out fishing, I was out riding my bike, riding my motorcycle, go-kart, whatever. I was, you know, in a rubber raft, farting around in some creeks or some streams. I was out in nature exploring everything and anything that I possibly could. Caves, it didn't matter. I was looking at everything. And just so happens at times things happened. Things decided to show themselves. So,
I hear you exactly. It wasn't like I went out searching as well. It wasn't That was not my intention at all. I just like exploring, like going places, and sometimes it's at my own house where that stuff
mhm.
happens as well. It's super interesting. Well, Dano, give us one last time before we close out for the night. Let everybody else know where they can find you one last time. I'm pretty simple, but the Cryptid
Yeah.
Podcast. But is there anything else?
Yeah, the Cryptid Podcast. If you guys have had an encounter, you'd like to come on my show, my email address is the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. And my channel is a safe place. If you've had an encounter and you're having a hard time dealing with it, or you're not really sure what's going on, and you just want to talk or ask questions, I'm more than happy to help you out there as well. If you'd like to share your thing, it's a safe place for you to come and share your encounter, and know that with people that are going to listen, people that are in my community have had encounters themselves and understand what you're going through, and will be more than happy to help guide you through that type of stuff. I can also be found on Spotify. My primary thing is on YouTube. And then this Saturday, in McMinnville, Tennessee. I'll be going to that Bigfoot conference that's out there. So
Awesome.
if you s
Unfortunately, this will be coming out much later than that, though. So
yeah?
yeah,
Oh, well,
you could be
not
like,
a problem.
"I saw you there." Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. So, but yeah, again, thank you so much for having me on. You know what? Thank you for taking a chance and clicking on that, link in YouTube and
Yeah.
checking out my live. I truly appreciate that, and, anytime, if you've had a cryptid encounter, UFO encounter, and you wanna come on the show, you're more than welcome, right? You have
Oh,
an open invitation.
I I think I'll take you up on that invitation. I have a plethora of experiences. No real cryptid encounters, but
Mhm.
UFO, paranormal, supernatural, just
Yeah,
unexplainable things. Yeah.
yep.
Uh,
Well, I mean, I don't cover paranormal. You and I got into that, the whole thing. But yeah, I would love to hear your UFO encounters, alien encounters, things like that. I find those absolutely
yeah,
fascinating.
I can definitely do the alien and that portal as well, which is
Yeah,
really interesting.
I'd love to hear that story.
All right, Dano, thank you so much for this. This was great.
Right, it's a pleasure meeting you, man. And here's to a beautiful friendship, man.
I agree.
Let's collaborate some more, and I'll get my guys to come, or my crew to check out your channel, and
Vice
vice
versa.
versa.
Yep.
All right, brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. You have a good night.
All right, everyone. That was Dano from the Cryptid Podcast, and like you said, yeah, I stumbled upon his channel, which I think is serendipitous because, that was just when he was telling the story about the Rake, the pale crawler, and I was hooked. And and when he was saying he's got a great community, he does. He has got a great bunch of people that are regulars who are sitting there and supporting that channel, and shout out to all them as well. So I want to say thank you for sharing your experiences, which are fascinating. Like being friends with a ghost girl. Like who's had those experiences? Well, Dano has. That UFO, his dad's werewolf type experience, that was crazy. Werewolf Dogman, and then lastly his rake, his pale crawler, whatever you want to call it, that whatever it was terrifying. Terrifying to the point that they demolished that house. They like destroyed it, burnt it down, and his friend's dad never talked about it ever again. So, there's things out there that go bump in the night, and sometimes it's better that we sit and we talk about them and we bring them up so we can get rid of that and we can know that there's other people out there who've had those experiences. And like Dano said, if you guys have those experiences and you want to hit him up, by all means, go check out his show, send him an email and say, hey, I've had these experiences, I'd love to be on your show, and I'm sure he'll have you on. And until next time, this is Rye the Codega signing off. Keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.
Beneath the stars where shadows grow, the Nephilim's echoes whisper low. Bigfoot roams through the forest deep, and Dogman prowls where the brave won't sleep. Across lost history we wonder why, seeking the truth that time tried to hide. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the code gas flame is the light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks. In the void of secrets, a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the code gas flame is a light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. Legends rise from the earth's deep core, a lost legacy we can't ignore. With every step, the veil grows thin, revealing worlds where the strange begins. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the codex, the mysteries come, and